If you apply this secret starting today, it will never leave you. And no, I'm not talking about manipulation or mind games. I'm talking about something much deeper. Something Louise Hay discovered after decades of studying why some relationships thrive while others repeatedly crumble. Have you ever wondered why some men just vanish from your life, even when things seem to be going well? Or why you seem to always attract the same type of man who, somehow, ends up leaving you behind? It's not a coincidence, and it's definitely not your fault. At least, not in the way you might think. Emily was 43 when she came to my office. 3 serious relationships, and all ended the same way. The man said he needed space, that he wasn't ready, that he liked her. But something was missing. She was exhausted. "Why am I always abandoned?" she asked through tears. "What's wrong with me?" What she didn't know is that she was sending invisible signals she didn't even realize herself, but that screamed at the top of their lungs, "I don't deserve to be kept." And the men in her life were simply responding to those signals. Louise Hay, a pioneer in emotional healing and author of the classic You Can Heal Your Life, said something powerful. It's not what happens to you that matters, but what you tell yourself about what happens. And what have you been telling yourself about abandonment? Today I'm going to show you why you attract men who don't stay, and how to change that forever, using a method that Louise applied to transform the love lives of thousands of women. Let me explain why this happens to you. Think of your thoughts as magnets. Every belief you have about yourself and about relationships emits a specific frequency, and that frequency attracts corresponding situations, people, and experiences. If deep down in your heart, right where no one sees, there's a belief, "I'm not enough," or "I don't deserve to be completely loved," guess what you'll attract? Exactly. Men who, in some way, will confirm that belief for you. Louise Hay didn't just talk about this as spiritual theory. She herself lived the cycle of rejection. Sexually abused at age 5, she dropped out of school as a teenager and went through abusive relationships before finding her path. "I knew what pain was," she said, "so I never spoke of change with artificial lightness. I lived the trauma, and perhaps you have also lived your traumas. Maybe you felt invisible to your father, or you saw your mother being abandoned, or you were the child who tried to be perfect so as not to lose the love of others. These experiences are engraved in your nervous system. They are not just memories. They are active programs that influence how you behave in relationships today. Do you find yourself constantly checking his phone? Do you feel a tightness in your chest when he takes a long time to respond? Are you afraid to express your desires and needs clearly? Do you pretend to be less than you are so you don't seem too much? I know. I understand. You do this not because you're insecure, but because you're protecting yourself from a pain that seems inevitable. But here's the truth that will change everything. The abandonment you fear has already happened, and it wasn't with him, nor with the previous one. It was much earlier. It was when you, for some reason, began to believe that you were not worthy of a love that stays. Louise Hay said, "The point of power is always in the present moment." This means that, regardless of what happened before, you can start right now to change your pattern. Let's look at your current relationship or the last one you had. Can you identify the moments when you were already expecting the abandonment? Perhaps when he said he needed to work late, and you immediately thought, "He's losing interest," or when he was quiet and you assumed, "He's rethinking the relationship." These interpretations are not facts. They are projections of your deepest fear. It's as if you were constantly looking for evidence to confirm that you will be abandoned. And then, do you know what happens when you look for something with such conviction? You find it. Or worse, you create it. A client of mine, Sarah, was in a 2-year relationship when she started to feel that her boyfriend was distant. Instead of talking, she began to act increasingly insecure, checking messages, asking indirect questions, testing his love in subtle ways. 3 months later, he broke up with her. "You changed," he said. "It seems like nothing I do is enough." What she didn't realize was that her fear of abandonment created the very scenario she most feared. She interpreted neutral signals as negative and reacted to them as if she was already being abandoned. Louise Hay explained that the outside always reflects the inside. The behavior of the men in your life is a reflection of your own deepest beliefs about yourself. This is not your fault. I repeat, this is not your fault. You learned these patterns as a form of emotional survival. But now, you can unlearn them. Often the fear of abandonment comes from an even deeper place, the fear of truly surrendering. Because if you never fully surrender, you never fully lose. Right? You keep a foot in the door, always ready to leave, always anticipating the end. Louise taught us, you've criticized yourself for years, and it hasn't worked. Try approving of yourself and see what happens. This is the first secret to never being abandoned again. Stop abandoning yourself first. When you look in the mirror, what do you see? A woman worthy of unconditional love, or someone who constantly needs to prove her worth. When you make a mistake, can you forgive yourself with the same compassion you would offer a friend? Or do you punish yourself with merciless criticism? When your desires differ from his, do you express them with confidence? Or do you stifle them for fear of being too much? Every time you swallow your words, ignore your needs, or diminish your shine to fit someone's expectations, you are sending a message to the universe. I don't deserve to be seen, heard, and loved for who I really am. And the universe, being the perfect mirror that it is, sends you people who reflect exactly that belief back to you. But it's so hard to change these patterns. You might be thinking, I've been repeating this for years, maybe decades. Louise Hay faced this same resistance from many women, and her answer was simple but revolutionary. You don't need to know how to change. You just need to be willing. She herself faced a diagnosis of cervical cancer in 1977, an area of the body that, according to her own philosophy, is linked to old hurts and wounded relationships. Instead of immediately undergoing surgery, she embarked on a profound journey of forgiveness, positive affirmations, and releasing resentment. Her cancer completely disappeared, not because she thought positive, but because she went to the emotional roots of the disease and transformed them. Similarly, your pattern of attracting men who abandon you won't change just because you really want it to change. It will change when you address the emotional root of the problem, your relationship with yourself. Here's a powerful exercise Louise Hay recommended as a first step. For 3 consecutive days, look yourself in the eyes in the mirror in the morning and say out loud, I love and approve of myself exactly as I am. I am worthy of a love that endures. Initially, you might feel resistance, perhaps tears. Maybe a voice inside you screams, lie. It's okay. Continue. These reactions are just your old belief system resisting change. Why does this work? Because your beliefs about abandonment weren't installed through rational thoughts. They were installed through deep emotional experiences, And they can only be uninstalled the same way, through new emotional experiences. When you look yourself in the eyes and affirm your worth, you're creating a new emotional experience. You're telling your nervous system, it's safe to be loved now. It's safe to stay. It's safe to trust. Now let me share something few people understand about relationships. Abandonment doesn't happen in a single moment. It happens in hundreds of small moments where you abandon your values, your needs, and your truth. Martina, a successful executive, dimmed her professional brilliance when she was with her boyfriend because he felt intimidated by powerful women. Carlos, a sensitive man, hid his vulnerability because his partner valued only his strength. Both were abandoning essential parts of themselves to be loved, and both ended up being left. Louise Hay said, "What you accept or reject in yourself, you will accept or reject in others. When you reject parts of yourself, you unconsciously give permission for others to do the same." The second secret, therefore, is this: stop abandoning parts of yourself to be accepted. Integrate all your facets, your strength and your vulnerability, your ambitions and your needs, your independence and your desire for connection. A man who truly wants to stay in your life doesn't just fall for your perfect and agreeable version. He falls for your complexity, your authenticity, your totality. Think about it. Have you ever seen a rose trying to be less red so as not to offend a lily? An eagle flying lower so as not to intimidate a sparrow? An ocean containing its waves so as not to scare those on the beach? Nature doesn't diminish itself. And you, as part of nature, shouldn't either. When you love yourself, Louise said, you don't compete, you don't compare, you don't imitate. You celebrate your uniqueness. The third element of this psychological secret to ensure a man never abandons you is to understand that the energy you emit is more powerful than any words you say. Think about the last time you had a date with a man. What did you talk about? What did you say? You probably remember. But now try to remember. What was the energy you were emanating during that conversation? Were you present? Confident? Or were you worried about pleasing him? About not seeming too much? About being who you thought he wanted you to be? Louise Hay deeply believed that it's not our words that create our reality but our deepest beliefs. You can tell the man in your life that you're happy, that you trust him, that you feel secure. But if your energy is screaming the opposite, that's what he'll respond to. There are women who can sit in absolute silence next to a man and emanate so much security, so much self-esteem, so much inner peace, that he feels he has found a home. And there are women who can do everything right, say the right words, take the right actions, but emit a vibration of fear, control, and insecurity that pushes away any possibility of a real connection. Which one have you been? Don't judge yourself by the answer. Just observe, with curiosity, with compassion, like a scientist studying your own behavior. The truth is, if you really loved yourself enough, you wouldn't allow certain behaviors in your life, Louise said. If you truly understood your worth, you wouldn't accept less than you deserve. But make no mistake, this doesn't mean manipulating a man to stay. It means creating an energy that naturally attracts him to stay. Rachel, a 38-year-old client, was in a cycle of first and second dates that never evolved into anything more. She was beautiful, intelligent, had a great career, but something was pushing men away. When we started working together, we discovered that Rachel was so focused on not ruining it this time that her energy was one of constant tension. She was, unknowingly, already expecting failure. Instead of techniques or strategies, we worked on her relationship with herself. She started Louise Hay's mirror practice every morning. She started treating her body with more kindness. She started honoring her boundaries in all areas of life. 3 months later, she met Miguel. The first time they went out, Rachel was different. She wasn't trying to impress. She wasn't policing herself. She was simply present, authentic, anchored in her own worth. Miguel felt it, and he was attracted not only to her beauty or intelligence, but to her presence, to her energy, to how he felt next to her. A year later, they got married. In his wedding speech, Miguel said something revealing. "From the first date, I knew you didn't need me, and that made me want to stay forever." It seems contradictory, doesn't it? But that's exactly the secret that Louise Hay shared with thousands of women. A man worth having stays with you, not because you need him, but because you chose yourself first. And that's the difference between a relationship based on neediness and a relationship based on abundance. In the first, you're always afraid of losing. In the second, you know you are complete, with or without him. Louise Hay healed herself from a terminal cancer using the power of mind and self-love. And she wasn't unlike you. She didn't have superpowers. She simply understood a fundamental truth. What you think of yourself, you attract to yourself. And when you start thinking of yourself as someone worthy of a lasting, stable, and secure love, that's exactly what you start to attract. But let's be honest, changing thought patterns doesn't happen overnight. It's like replanting a garden that's been wildly overgrown for years. It takes time, consistency, and above all, self-compassion. The fourth secret to never being abandoned by a man is linked to your energetic vibration. Louise Hay frequently spoke about how our bodies are simply condensed energy, vibrating at specific frequencies. People don't come into our lives by accident, she'd say. They're drawn in by the energy we emit. If you're constantly vibrating at frequencies of fear, insecurity, and expecting abandonment, guess who'll be attracted to your life? Men who resonate with those same frequencies. Men who are also afraid of intimacy, who also expect things to go wrong. A client of mine, Emily, had an interesting pattern. At the beginning of each relationship, she was confident, relaxed, authentic, and during this phase, she attracted stable and committed men. But as soon as the relationship started getting serious, something shifted. She'd start questioning everything, looking for signs that he was losing interest, creating scenarios in her mind where he left her. Her energetic vibration changed completely. And inevitably, the man would start to distance himself. Not because he planned to abandon her from the start, but because he was responding to the new frequency she was emitting. When Emily began to understand this, she asked a revealing question. How can I maintain the same vibration from the beginning of the relationship, even when things get deeper? The answer came from Louise Hay herself. When a negative thought arises, don't fight it. Simply replace it with a thought that makes you feel better. Emily started paying attention to the triggers that shifted her vibration. She noticed when she started spiraling into fear, and instead of identifying with those thoughts, she gently replaced them with affirmations like, I am safe. I am worthy of love. I trust the flow of this relationship. It might seem simplistic. It might seem like I'm saying, just think positive and everything will be fine. But that's not it. What I'm saying is that your thoughts create your emotional reality, which creates your behavior, which influences how others respond to you. It's a profoundly powerful chain of cause and effect. Louise Hay wasn't just a spiritual writer. She was a woman who faced childhood sexual abuse, who lived through abusive relationships, who faced a terminal cancer diagnosis. And through her own healing process, she discovered something revolutionary. The door to change is always open, and only you can walk through it. Let's now move to the practical aspect, the method that will transform your energetic frequency and consequently, the quality of men you attract into your life. This is the ritual of the 7 transformative affirmations that Louise Hay developed specifically for women who were trapped in patterns of abandonment. It's not just about repeating words. It's about reprogramming your nervous system and your energetic vibration. Here's how to do it. First step. For 7 consecutive nights before bed, you will handwrite the following affirmations, 7 times each. I'm worthy of love that lasts. I love myself completely and attract relationships that reflect that love. I release the past and all patterns of abandonment with compassion and love. I trust the flow of life and know I am safe. I am complete in myself and relate from abundance, not lack. I allow love to enter and remain in my life. I am a magnet for healthy, stable, and loving relationships. While writing, don't worry if your mind tries to resist or say, "This is nonsense." Just keep writing. The physical act of writing these words repeatedly begins to create new neural pathways in your brain. Second step. After writing each affirmation 7 times, close your eyes, place your hand over your heart, and mentally repeat the affirmation 1 more time, really feeling its truth in your whole body. Imagine what it would be like to live knowing deep down that this affirmation is absolutely true for you. Third step. In the morning, as soon as you wake up, still in bed, repeat each of the 7 affirmations once aloud. This is a powerful moment because your brain is still in the alpha state, more receptive to new programming. Louise Hay used to say, "You don't need to believe, you just need to do." Many women give up on this process in the first few days because they don't feel anything different, or because their critical mind keeps saying it's useless. But those who persevere, even with doubts, begin to notice surprising changes around the 5th day. One client, Sarah, told me that on the 6th day of this ritual, she received a message from an ex-boyfriend who had disappeared without explanation 2 years earlier. He wanted to apologize for the way he had treated her. Not that she still wanted him back. That wasn't the point. The point was that something in her vibration had changed so profoundly that it was affecting how people from her past perceived her. Another client, Jessica, noticed that at work, her colleagues started respecting her more, listening to her ideas more attentively. Again, it wasn't about romantic relationships directly, but about how she was being perceived in the world in general. This is the power of energetic reprogramming through Louise Hay's affirmations. Now, the 5th secret. You must consciously release all the men from your past who abandoned you. But they hurt me. You might be thinking, why should I release them? Louise Hay's answer would be, you don't forgive to benefit the other person. You forgive to free yourself. As long as you hold on to resentment, bitterness, or even just unresolved curiosity about why a man left you, you maintain an energetic cord connected to him. And that cord acts as a reference point for the universe about the kind of experience you're available to have. How to do this? Louise Hay created a powerful ritual for releasing past relationships. Here's the adapted version. Find a quiet space where you won't be interrupted. You'll need paper, a pen, and a small bowl where you can safely burn paper, or an alternative, if you prefer not to use fire. On each piece of paper, write the name of a man who abandoned you, or made you feel abandoned. It could be an ex-boyfriend, an absent father, someone you only had a few dates with, any man who left a mark of rejection on you. Below the name, write, "I release you with love. I thank you for the lessons you brought me. You are free, and I am free too." For each name, close your eyes and visualize the person. See them clearly in your mind. So imagine energetic cords connecting the two of you. Cords formed by resentments, unmet expectations, unanswered questions, anger, sadness. Now visualize these cords being cut, one by one. Watch them disintegrate. Feel the release in your body as each connection is freed. After this visualization, burn the paper, or tear it into tiny pieces and dispose of it otherwise, if you prefer. Repeat this for each person on your list. This ritual seems simple, but its effects are profound. You are literally reprogramming your energetic field to no longer resonate with abandonment. You are declaring to the universe, this pattern is over. A scientist would probably explain this in terms of emotional processing and psychological closure. A spiritual practitioner would explain it in terms of clearing the auric field. What matters is not the theoretical explanation, but the practical result. You begin to feel lighter, freer, more open to new possibilities. When Carmen did this ritual, she cried for hours after releasing her father's name. He left home when she was only 4 years old. She didn't realize until that moment how she carried the weight of that abandonment into all her adult relationships, always expecting each man to eventually prove that she wasn't worthy of staying. 3 weeks later, she met Eduardo at a party with mutual friends. The difference was palpable. She wasn't analyzing his every word, looking for signs of rejection. She wasn't diminishing herself to fit his expectations. She was simply present, authentic, anchored in her own worth. Eduardo felt it. He felt that she wasn't there to fill a void, but to share a fullness, and that was it. More than her beauty or intelligence, that attracted him deeply. Now, the sixth, and perhaps most surprising secret. To never be abandoned again, you need to be willing to be okay if you are abandoned. This sounds contradictory, I know, but there's a profound wisdom in it. Louise Hay used to say, "When you depend entirely on another person for your happiness, you give away all your power." Think about it. When you're desperate for a man to stay, when the thought of losing him fills you with terror, you emit an energy of need so strong that he can feel it, even when you try to hide it. This energy of need exerts an almost tangible pressure on the relationship. And the inconvenient truth is that human beings tend to pull away when they feel pressure. On the other hand, when you genuinely know you'd be okay, even if he left, not because you don't care, but because you trust in your own capacity for healing and your own inherent worth, you emit a completely different energy. An energy of freedom, of space to breathe, of confidence. Men are drawn to this energy like moths to a flame, not because it's a strategy or a game, but because it represents a fundamental truth we all seek. Freedom within connection. Clara had a pattern of becoming completely absorbed by her relationships. She would abandon friendships, hobbies, even parts of her personality to adapt to the man she was with. At first, they loved all this attention, but inevitably they began to feel suffocated by the responsibility of being everything to her. When we started working together, the first step was to rebuild her life outside the relationship. She resumed her yoga practice, reconnected with old friends, started a photography course she'd always wanted to take. Initially, her boyfriend reacted negatively. He was used to having her always available, always orbiting around him. There were fights, accusations that she didn't care anymore. But Clara remained firm, gently explaining that she was becoming a more fulfilled version of herself, and that this would benefit the relationship. "I'm doing this for myself, but also for us," she said. "I want to bring more to our relationship, not less." After a few turbulent weeks, something remarkable happened. Her boyfriend started treating her with a new kind of respect. He started asking genuine questions about her photography course, asking to see her photos. The dynamic between them changed completely. One day he told her something revealing. "You know what's strange? Before I sometimes felt suffocated, even though I never said it. Now that you have your own life, I actually feel more connected to you." What Clara discovered, and what Louise Hay taught thousands of women, is that emotional independence doesn't threaten true love. It strengthens it. "True love is not possessive or manipulative," Louise said. "True love allows, trusts, and celebrates freedom. This brings us to the seventh and final secret. To attract a man who will never abandon you, you need to be fully present. Many women spend their relationships living in the future. Will this last? Or the past? Last time I was hurt. Rarely are they totally present in the current moment. Louise Hay believed that the only real point of power is in the present moment. It is only in the now that you can feel, connect, experience the joy of love. It is only in the now that you can truly see the man in front of you. Not your projections, fears, or expectations, but who he really is. And when a man feels truly seen, without judgment, without overwhelming expectations, without the weight of responsibility for your happiness, he feels free to stay. This full presence is something you need to consciously practice, especially if you have a history of anxiety in relationships. How to do this? Louise recommended this simple but powerful practice. When you're with him, do regular internal check-ins. Ask yourself, where is my mind right now? Am I really here? Or am I lost in worries about the future or hurts from the past? If you notice your mind has wandered, gently bring your attention back to the present moment. Notice 5 things about him that you can see, 4 things you can hear, 3 things you can physically feel, 2 scents you can perceive, 1 taste in your mouth. This simple exercise of sensory awareness anchors you in the now, and the now is where real connection happens. And here's the deepest truth about never being abandoned again. When you stop fearing abandonment, when you stop living your life around that fear, you become free. And that freedom, paradoxically, creates the space for a love that chooses to stay, not out of need or manipulation, but out of pure joy and conscious choice. Louise Hay, who survived childhood sexual abuse, toxic young adult relationships, and a terminal cancer diagnosis, left behind a powerful legacy of healing and transformation. She passed away in 2017, at the age of 90, having helped millions find peace, self-love, and healthy relationships. Her secret? It wasn't complicated. It was profoundly simple, as the most powerful truths often are. Love begins with you. If you start practicing these 7 secrets today, the daily affirmations, the ritual of releasing the past, rebuilding your emotional independence, the practice of mindful presence. You'll see changes not only in how men treat you, but in how you treat yourself. And that's where the real transformation begins. Because the truth is, a man will never abandon you when he feels you won't abandon him. Not by diminishing who you are, not by suffocating his needs, not by disappearing into insecurities, not by placing the entire responsibility for your happiness in his hands. Man will never abandon you when he feels he can be himself with you. Vulnerable, imperfect, human, and still be completely accepted. A man will never abandon you when he feels being with you expands him instead of diminishing him, liberates him instead of imprisoning him, inspires him instead of draining him. And all of this starts with your relationship with yourself. As Louise Hay so beautifully put it, you have the power to heal your life, and you need to know that. We think so much in terms of finding someone to love us that we forget that love begins within us. When we love and accept ourselves, when we really believe we are wonderful, then the entire universe conspires in our favor. Start today, not because you desperately want a man to stay, but because you deserve to live free from the fear of abandonment. You deserve to live anchored in your own worth. You deserve to experience a love that endures not out of necessity, but out of joyful choice every single day. If this content resonated deeply with you, it wasn't by chance. Perhaps this is the message your soul has been waiting for, to finally break free from old patterns and make room for a new kind of love in your life. Louise Hay said, "Change can be scary, but you know what's scarier? Regret. Don't let fear stop you from transforming your love life. Start today, even with small steps, even with doubts. Just begin. Because the love you desire, stable, secure, lasting, already exists within you. It always has. And now is the time to allow it to manifest in your relationships as well.